Okay, let's go over, because we started the mitzvah, we didn't finish it, so let's just start from the beginning again. HaMitzvah hashmona v'esrim, he she'ishilnu mishmoa lemitnabah b'shem avodah. So the truth is, the first sentence doesn't say that much, because it doesn't say what the lesishma elov and what it means exactly. So the important sentence over here is really the second part, where the Rambam says, "What's aloyma kolema shanachnu loy nechakrehu." We don't take him serious. Nido nimoy, v'lo nishalehu. V'noima loy ma ho'is shelocho uma moifoscho al ze hamayim. In Kapach is ma rayoscho al dobazer. So you don't take him serious, and you don't give him a chance to prove himself, because the fact that he is a mitnabah b'shem avodah zarah, that itself is machrish Torah, and since it's machrish Torah, you know that what he says is not true. B'kamo, he says, we don't act with him like we act with someone who's mitnabah b'shem Hashem, because nam b'shem Hashem, you always evaluate whether the nevuah is a true nevuah in order to decide whether you do what he says. But in a Navy, mitnabah b'shem avodah zarah, you don't take it seriously, and you don't give him a chance to prove himself, because the fact that he's mitnabah b'shem avodah zarah, that itself is a raya that that it's not a Navi, it's not a real and bona fide nevuah. So it's very clear here in Minyan HaMitzvos that the Isa is a shmiya in order to evaluate the truth of the nevuah or not. And in Hilchos Avodah Zarah, it's the same approach. In Perek Halacha Zayin, v'yoser lalach din u'tshuva, that's nidoin imoy, im mitnabah b'shem avodah zarah, ve'ein sholim menu ois oy moifes. So I assume maybe you might violate the law by asking for nois moifes, because that shows you taking him seriously. V'im osem me'atzmoi, and this we'll see later. So we'll have to see a little bit, because when you read the Rambam over here, but we'll see later, he goes on. He says, nishmeu mitnabah b'shmo nazireu mizeh, kamo sheroi b'chol peshev v'oshem or kol oiver, v'im hu machzik b'dvorim l'kayim o'inish, shenischayim midin Torah v'nonapit le'oisei moifes yitein v'lonishim imenu ta'ano. And the kilu that the oinish, that the moifes should let him off the hook. And in Mishnah Torah, he's talking about the Oisu Moifes more so that Shema Emes. So it's an interesting, play of things. It's not, maybe Mishnah Torah is not exactly the same, but the more important question before we might think about the differences between the various interpretations. It's this interpretation, the question is, where did Ram get it from? I think I pointed out that the Malbim somehow, L'Sishmael Divrei Hanovi Ahu, on the Sifri, Pirish B'Sifri, She'ei Pirushoi, Shaloi Tekabel, L'Sishma, you see, the Sifri says in Re'ei, Piska Pei Dalet, L'Sishmael Divrei Hanovi Ahu, V'lo Yachrize Boy. What does it mean, Lo Yachrize Boy? So the Malbim says this is the source of the Rambam. Pirish b'sifri she'ein pirush shel tekabel dvar v'lasses came to do as he suggests. Shall ze hoyel lemeima l'sishma elov. Avol l'shein shmias hadvorim hainu she'osa lo lishmoy hadvorim pam she'enis, not to listen to it again, to evaluate it. Kakos Rambam misleise chavches. Choose mishmor misnabi what's a loima shanachlo chakeu will lishaleu leimo ma'ois umoife. So means that not to think about what he says or reevaluate what he says, and maybe what he's saying is true. So that clearly is what he's saying over here in Minyan HaMitzvos, and that is what the Malbim suggests is the source of the Rambam. I think I pointed out last week that the Ramban suggests the other approach, that the L'Sishma Elov, not to listen to him and do what he requests and mitzav you to do. The Ramban claims that's Shikul Shel Mikra of Kabbalah's Dvorim, Lavod of the Zohar Metzias. Therefore, he's of the opinion that we should not count this as a mitzvah min haminyan. Ramban hasogas l'sechov ches v'ani oimer ki hashmir b'mila el im div el l'sishma el divrei el b'milas el im divrei el divrei li'olam hi kabbalas dvom ve'asiyos v'im hoyisa meniyah mishmoya oisayir oyom l'sishma divrei hanovi ahu v'ameniyah azu oid achrei bo ha'ois v'amoifes hi ketam she'omar ki menas Hashem Elokechem eschem im kein enenu elo meniyah me'asis kedvorov mishmoa b'kol ha'ois v'amoifes. Hine azhora v'avodah zora im kama azhora shebo b'Torah, just like other azhoras in the Torah, which we don't count 15 times or more times, binyana, k'moi she'amru b'arboim u'shtayim m'koymes yisira Torah avodah zora. This is one of the 42. V'chein tigumuklis v'yiskabel episkmei hanavi ahu v'im kein lo yimne alav hazeh. So there is a possibility. I think I mentioned this also last. We just get to understand and continue on that, maybe that the Ram might agree with the Ramban. The Malbim doesn't work like that. That Pshuta Shel Mikra might be over Avodah Zarah. But then, if you accept the Malbim, that there's a Pirush Makubal to tell you there's something new over here, not to be done and evaluate what he says. So then you have a situation where the Pshuta Shel Mikra is not a mitzvah in Minyan, and the Pirush Makubal is. And we found that in Mitzvah, in the mitzvah of Binyan HaMikdash, where Mizbach Adom Ta'aseli in Pshuto Shamika, the Ram says, is a bomber b'shas heta abomis, which is only Hawasha, which is not Binyan HaMitzvos. However, the L'deres, it means that the Mizbeach should be Mechubel Karka, so then it's part of the mitzvah Binyan HaMikdash. In the Pirush Mechubel. I think I started this last week, and now we'll be able to. The Rav Sadi Goin says in his Minyan HaMitzvos, there's an Isa of Shmiel and Novi, Shemisnabe Bakiras Dvo Me'atera. There's an Isa to listen to a Novi who his Sefer is Oike Divrei Torah. He says in his Sefer HaMitzvos in Perek Aleph, page 17. Bashesh Esrei, Lifneis Orev, to just the opposite, not to listen, not to miss Yaches, Lemi Shetoan B'Sheker L'Nevuah. And how do we know that it's Sheker? Shehevi Tzivui Hamenugud L'Divrei Hashem B'Serosei. It's a steer at the Torah. K'moi she'osar v'yomar Leisishma el divrei hanovi ahu. The interesting thing is, it's like a nuas horror that a novi who's oiker, you see, l'chera, what happens over here is the Rambam in, you say, the Atera in Perek Tes. Let's take it 1 second. Perek Tes halacha aleph. Dova boro. Umefurish batera, shehi mitzvah oimedes le'olam le'olmei olami. That's what Torah is. Ein lo lo shinui, v'lo giron v'lo teisefes. Shnema es kol adov asher anochi mitzav eschem, oisei tishmeru, la'as ois le'seisei folov, v'oisigru mimenu. When there's a law about Torah, that's really relevant to me at the moment. In Pirush HaMishnah, he's ready to. It's not Pirush HaMishnah. In Mishnah Torah, after the Minyan HaMitzvos, where he discusses what a Navi can do with other things, he says there's about taste about take, but that's not of interest here. V'nema v'nilos lanu v'leinu ad olam. La'as is called divrei Torah zois. Or the marit is called divrei Torah. Mitzuvin onu la'asois maroilu. Cheiroim echukesolum dereseichem v'nema lo b'shamayimi or the marit is she'eno b'shayir chalish dog. Me'at. So based on that, the Rambam says the Firi Yamud ish beimi Yisrael beimi u'musoilam beimi u'mois v'yase oisu bo'ibis yoyma sh'Hashem sh'ochot lo hisim mitzvah l'groim imen mitzvah or the forish mitzvah min ha-mitzvahs pirush shelo shamanu mi Moshe or shama she'is ha-mitzvah sh'nitztavu ben Yisrael einon le'olam le'olamim l'deres l'deres. This is Yisayid Habitul. You say that she in the you say Sadas the Pirush Mishnah el mitzvah mitzvos lefizman hoyu hari ze novi sheker שהריבו להחריש נבואסו של מוישה, ומיסוסו בחנק וכו'. So the Ram only says that he becomes a Navi Sheker because he's Makish Nevuas Moshe, but he's Makish Torah. Okay? What Rav Sadi Goin has done over here has said that the Isa to listen, there's the lovely Sishma is an Isa to listen to a Navi who's Makish Torah. והשש-עשרה, לפני ערב, למשתון בשקר, לנבוא, שהביא ציווי המנוגד לדברי השם בתרוסי, כמו שעשו. ויאמר לסישמע על דברי הנביא. Ramban, I don't know if he's aware of Sadi going, but he's ready to accept such a pshat. In Asogis, in Ramban, in Loises Echovches, ואולי נאמר שימנה לפי שבפרשה זו כפי הקבלה נכלל עוד מתנבא בשם הקהל יסעלה. Maybe we're talking about a מתנבא בשם השם לעקור דובר מן התורה בין עשה בין לא יעשה כמו שהסביר בסנהדרין ונמנענו מעשייס כדבורov, אף על פי שנעשו לנו עשה מויפס. You can't have any steer to Torah unless you say it's sure. Here we're not saying it's sure. Rav Sadi Goin doesn't have an ashara for Novi Sheker itself, for the Novi to Misnabe, it's only to listen to the Novi. And I just want to tell you one thing. I don't know if it's really, I'm going to say you say, then I'll talk about it for a minute or two, but it's really antithetical to the Rambam. The Rav Sadi Goin, and his minyan mitzvos counts all chiyuvei misa as separate mitzvos. We call the Rambam has polemics with the Goyinim. I don't know, he doesn't mention Rav Sadi by name. Rav Sadi is one of the people in Church Yudalid who count all chiyuvei misa as separate mitzvos. You see, what the Rambam does is all chiyuvei misa is just an oynesh and ein onishin mashirin, and therefore we have separate lavim. We don't know, and that the Rambam is machadish, that which we assume and take as a double portion, that ein onishin mashirin, that not only it requires a lav or an ashara, but a lav in minyan mitzvos. And the Rambam uses the klal, as we saw again and again, ein onishin mashirin, to develop various lavim whenever there's a chiyuv misa. We don't know that Rav Sadi Goin has such a klal. It could be ein onishin mashirin. The Torah has to tell us that you shouldn't do it, but that chiyuv misa is mechayev v'separas hol minyan mitzvos. We don't know of such a thing, and maybe that's where Sadi is coming because he doesn't have an ashara for Novi Sheker, but he has an ashara for not for Novi Sheker to say such a law, but he has an ashara for us to listen to this law. Now, here comes interesting. Let's do it again. Avokishinishme'ehu misnabe bishmo nazhirehu mizeh כמו שלוי b'chol poshei avosham, or as Kapach says, it means that we have to give him hasra. Okay. V'im hu machzik b'dvorov, and he's not chayze machzik b'dvorov, yasmid b'dvorov, he continues if nothing happened. That's what kapach yasmid machzik. Nekayim bo'inish, nechayiv shenechayiv mina midin teira. V'loi nabit li'oisoi hamoifes sheyitain v'loi nishma mimeno ta'an. Kapach v'loi nechush le'iseisav v'lohicha choisav. So here, this is very important. The Rambam tells us that b'chlal as horazu, there is an isa to misyaches to the Navy HaMitznabeh b'shem avodah in a different manner than any oiva avera. So l'chera, it means that if we are not master him, or we don't give him oynish, or we deal with him as in a different way, we violate the law. So here, the Rambam is adding on to the law that the law is not only to sit and evaluate with him, maybe what he's saying is true, but not only that is in the law, but also once we see that he's misnabeh b'shem avodah, we're required to give him asra. If we don't give him asra, we violate the law. That's also lishma. And if we don't give him the einish, we also have the law. But the Rambam it is possible in Mishnah Torah that this is not part of the law, that the asra and the ikov are einish. The Rambam Hilchos Avodah Zarah, Perek Hey Halacha Zayin, v'oser larich din u'tshuva im misnabeh b'shem avodah zarah, ve'ein shoyli mimeno oisem moifes. So that's the beginning, like over here. V'imoser ma'atzmo im mashkichon olav ve'im maharim boy. And then he says, so what he does is he goes on to explain that not only la'ach tshuva im misnabe maybe zemes, but even to think after you see the oises zemes is also a problem. But there's no discussion of hasra and no discussion. But the whole idea of ikuv hasra v'inish is clearly only here in Mitzvos. Then the Ram ends off. V'ashol mizeh hu omroi yis'aleh le'sishmal divrei hanavi ahu ukva ispire mishpatei mitzvah be achad also misanhedrin. Achad also misanhedrin is peraka nechnokim. As I mentioned before, the Ram Pirush Mishnayis, the Seder Prokim is a chelek and then a nechnokim. And nechnokim is the last pair. The question is, what do we have in peraka nechnokim about? See, he says the Torah, excuse me, the Matiki Hashmua explain this lav, the dinim of this lav, or l'sishmal divrei hanavi ahu in perek hanechnokim. And the question is, what is he talking about? So what I thought is maybe the Rambam has in mind the Gemara Sanhedrin on Tzadiyam and Aleph. Omar Vavo, Omar B'Yechanan, B'chol im yomer l'cho novi avo al divrei Torah shma loi. Chutz me'avodah zarah, she'afilu ma'amid l'cho chamo b'emsa rakia, al tishma loi. Okay, this is this lav, but we have no idea. It doesn't tell you what the tishma means, but it tells you that you don't listen to it. Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Galili, Oimer, Higia l'seif daitam, Higia teira l'seif daita shel avodah zarah. Lefichach nitna teira memshola bo, she'afilu mamid l'cho chamo b'emsa rakia al tishma. So it's possible that it does something which is a priori steer to my sebratius, but we don't have to be we shouldn't be misyachs. That's a Yosef Galili. Comes Rabbi Akiva. It's an interesting, theoretical machlokes. Tanya, Omer Rabbi Akiva, Chas v'sholem, she'HaKadosh Baruch Hu mamid chamo le'ovrei ritzonoi el kagoyin Chananya ben Azor shemitchilosei novi emes u'v'soif novi sheker. The issue here, I have no clue. And, it's an amazing thing. We saw that have been Novi that actually do such a thing. I can't get involved in this. It's a very interesting machlokes. It's like a theoretical thing, what would happen, okay? Or can happen. But whatever it is, I think the makor, what I wanted to suggest that the Ram is referring to this Gemara Nechnokin, because of an Chananu there in Al Tishma, he tried to explain this. He says, Pirish Kogoin Zeh Maze Akosuv Al Tishma Loy. And that's what I'm presenting over here. But it's interesting, it's not the dinim of this lav, it's just the lav applies to such a case. Which, the truth is, I find that very odd because, you usually find that the Matiki Ashmu and Teresh of Alpeh add something. What are they adding? Because we know from the Psukim that the Nov is giving an ois in my face, and we know that if Mistab B'Shem Avodah Zarah, we know you shouldn't listen to him. The question is, what does not to listen to him mean? So all the Gemara is discussing is whether he actually can have such an ois in my face, which turns the world upside down. But the Chayr has nothing to do with the Dini HaMitzvos. I'm not sure what the Rama means. I think it's clear that the Gemara is referring to, but I don't know what the Matiki Ashmua are adding to insights into the law. That's what I would ask. Okay, now, next mitzvah. HaMitzvah HaTesha V'Yesrim. He shehishilnu shelo lira mino v'yashekar. O lihisrashel milaholga. Before we're talking about Novi HaMitnabah b'Shem Avodah Zarah, here we're talking about Novi HaShekar. So kilu is a lot of yira mimeno, or kilu not to take seriously that he's chai misa and to fulfill the oynish. Question: who the oynish? Who this is on? It's on Bezdin. We have to know. Achashu misnabe b'shem Hashem. Avoloy nefachet b'zeh me'oven klal. So the yira nefachet me'oven klal, the yira is not from the gavra, but the yira is ki'ilu, that since it's the Novi Hashem, you have to treat him with certain respect, and that's the oving. But it's not that we're afraid of the Gavra Hanovi. Let's read it again. HaMitzvah Tesha V'Yesrim Hishiziru Shelo Lira Minovi Hashem. We don't know what that means. It could be for the Gavra, the way he said, "Oh, this Hashem La'ogon." Acha Shuhu Misnave B'Shem Hashem. Okay. Avo Loi Nefached B'Zeh Me'ovoin Klal. The Pachad is from Ovoin. Ubuvad, and this is certainly true, Kishis Ames Etzlenu Shikrusa. You treat him, you have to treat him as a Novi with all the dine, whatever he's supposed to do to a Novi. But it's the Novi Hashem. But if the Spar Shikrusai, then everything is lost. Shalolira. May over in cloud, because she's ames etzlenu shikusa. Omer yisale leisogu mimenu. Okay. Let's take this slowly. Okay. This is very similar to me in our Kotzer. Shaloi Lira, at least Ibn Tibbin's Tilgum. Shaloi Nimna Me'arigas Novi Ashker, Voloi Nira Mimenu. This is the this is exactly what Ibn Tibbin's presenting over here. Kapach says, Lochush Novi Asheko, O Lihimona Milahorgoy. And Kapach says, Shekavonis Lochush, it's to treat him with a certain covered, and that's what he says in his in Israeli slang. But you know, I'm not sure if either one of the two, actually shed light on this, but I think this line, may over in Klau, is that the yira over here is a year of oynesh, of not treating the Navi properly. That's what he says clearly. And that kapach has el shelo nira me oynesh Klau, kivish nisbar lono shikra. You see, it says loisogur mimeno, that's a lav, not to be afraid of him. And the Ram clearly says not to be afraid to carry out the death sentence at the end. Only his rashel milahorgoy. And that is michshash oynish, and the Sefer Chinuch in mitzvah kuf tov kuf yutes loiniru milaharoi nobby השקר ולפחד שיהיה לנו בזה שום oynish ואפילו היה מתנבא בקיום המצוות אחרי שקר בפיו אין לנו oynish מסוסי אבל היא עלינו מצווה. I'm not sure the end of it has to do with love or not, but that's the way he phrases it. The Mishnah Torah, let's just read it. In Perek Hey Halachates, Kol menei atzmoi Marigas Novi השקר מפני מעלוסוי שהרי הולך בדרכי הנבואה. So we don't know, he's afraid to do it because he feels you should treat a novi like that, or there's an ovoin. He's afraid that if you treat the novi improperly, there'll be an ovoin. So I don't know if there's clearly any difference, but here he stresses. You see, the point over here is the lefachid b'zeh me oven klau, and here he says ma'alosa. I'm not sure there's a difference. Maybe the different stress. It could be, but there's no clarity to all the differences. It all could be a different permutation of the same thing, that whether it's because of his Maila or whoever he is, we shouldn't be mefachid me'oven. And that's the Lisogo. Now, here is a little bit odd and interesting. We know that the mitzvah of Mrs. Bezdin is on Bezdin proper, not on Klal Yisrael. The Lashon Rambam over here in Perek Hey Halachates, we says Kol hamoineya atzmoi me'arigas. He's he doesn't want to get involved in killing him. So we're talking about Tom, Dick, Harry, anyone, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. So I guess that when Bezdin decides to kill, a person who decides, I'm not going to kill, it's a Navy, he's Mila, Ova, and this and that, then there's a laugh. If that's correct, that this is not an ashara on Bezdin, but it's hasara on everyone, then it's nothing to do with the discussion that there's an ashara for Menias Harigas Machashefa, which is an ashara on Bezdin. Because there, the Menias Harigas Machashefa, Bezdin has to make sure they do it. And over here, it's nothing to do with Bezdin. In the Navy HaShekher, the issue is the Hamunam. This is the Rambam in Perek Yudal of Hilchos Sanhedrin Halacha Gimel. He says like this: Kol mechuyev misas Bezdin, shelo heimisu oisei Bezdin, bitlo mitzvos aseh. It's on Bezdin. V'lo ovo al mitzvos aseh. Bezdin doesn't violate a mitzvos aseh chutz mechashev she'im lo heimisu Bezdin ovo al mitzvos aseh. So it could be the Ram doesn't quote this discussion of Yashek over there because there's nothing to do. Here it's on the Hamunam, the Lav of Minias Hariga, and the Chashefa, the Lav is on Bezdin. Now here, at the end of this, is something very interesting. V'loshin sifri loisogu mimenu al timna atzmacha milalamed olav chayva. So the question is, looking at this, we have to ask ourselves, what happened? Because the beginning is a discussion to make sure he gets killed, to not to treat him with kids' gloves, not to have lachmanis on them, not to be afraid of him, of the ovoin because he's the Navi. And now we're adding a whole new dimension over here. Al timna atzmacho milalamed olav chayva. It's not a question of killing him. It's a question of saying testimony or saying a taina, which will help Bezdin decide and to put it an oynish on him. So what happens is here's another case. Pshuto shel mikra, there's an isa of yira of an oynish or yira from the gava in order to get an oynish, not to get an oynish because it's the chanovi, and the sifri is the matiki ashmur, that there's a new layer over here that the matiki ashmur says that you shouldn't be afraid to malamed olav chayva. So in minyan mitzvos over here, we're not exactly, it's not clear what happened, because what you basically have over here is the Rambam adds the Sifri without explaining it. And we have no idea of how the Sifri fits in to what was said before. The interesting thing is that in Mishnah Torah, there is some clarity about what the relationship between these two things are. The Rambam in Perek Hey of Hilchos Avodah Zorah Alochates, Kol Menei Atzmoi Me'arigas Navy HaShekher Mipnei Ma'alosei Hari Shehari Hoylech B'Darkei Nevuah Hari Ze Oiva B'Lo Yisaseh Shneim Lo Yisogu Mimen V'chein Hamonei Atzmo Lamer Lov Choiva O Hapoiched V'Yorei Midvorov Harehu Bichlal Lo Yisogu. So here in Mishnah Torah, the Ram claims that the Ika Isa Bichlal, if you remember, the Ram had the Lashon Bichlal by Simchas Yontif, that the Ika mitzvah, the Ram quotes in Hilchos Chagiga, but he says the Bichlal mitzvah in Hilchos Yontif, he says, Kolecha B'roiloi, it could be the mitzvah of Simchas Yontif, is in all Yom Tovim, and the mitzvah of Simcha Chagiga is only on Regalim. We found also in it that the Ram says, for example, there's a law of kocho, and Chazal Darshin that Aguda is not to have Shnei Botedinim v'chulei. So Ram says B'chlal, and the Malchus is only the Ikalav, and that which is B'chlal is not the Ikalav. And the Ram says in Mina Mitzvos that it's not the Pshuta Shel Mikra. Here, there's a whole new thing, that where the Pshuta Shel Mikra is X, and the Pirush Makubal says Y, the Ram seems to say that the Ika mitzvah is according to Pshuta Shel Mikra, and the Madivi Matik Yashmua is only B'chlal. You see, one of the things, but I think it's beyond what I want to talk about now, is this a general klal, or the Rambam evaluates each mitzvah on its own merits and decides, for whatever reason decides, that there is an Ika or not an Ika mitzvah. Now, ukvar bialnu mishpatei mitzvazu tachlis habiur b'psichas chiburenu l'pirush HaMishnah. See here, there's no makor in Talmud Bavli. So he ends off that he's explained this mitzvah, betachlis habiur. So you expect, something very, very special, or something very profound. That's what tachlis habiur means. So I'll read it to you, and let's, try to decide together, whether this is like tachlis abir or whatever. The Ram nakdom at the Pirush Mishnah. Aval im iftiach shit toivois kavolno bizman mesuyim kmo shiyom sheshalom yeh b'shana zu v'hoysim l'chomo. So he's misnabe l'toi. He's misnabe l'toi when the opposite happens. Oh shiyoma shashara tia geshuma ubrucha v'hoyerov ubatzeres ukdema. L'kach how is it not b'sheker? When this barre shetanosai shav b'sheker. Okay, so that's pretty clear. That's a general clown in the Torah that nevuah l'ra can be chayzer and nevuah l'toiv cannot be chayzer. I only start this because the line in the middle wouldn't understand without the context. Now here is the profundity. V'alzeh omar kosuv b'zodoin dibru anovi le'sogu mimen. What's the whole pasuk? Kloima shlo yafchitcho v'yartiacho milahogoi. De dosiosei v'yashroi b'chuchmosei. You shouldn't his religious personality and his upright in righteousness and his chochmah. Why? Ki v'shehigis ruchai b'ton b'dova chomo, that he ended up saying sheker, v'diba sheker Hashem. And that explains the whole chefsa. It's the higis daita. And that's the higis daita. You should look at his chochmah. I mean, that's, I guess, tachlis abir. Lefi Hashem lo yiftiach toivo li'am al yidei novi כשהשם מבטיח והוא מקיימנו בהחלט כדי שיסעמס נבואסם אצל בני אדם. רומם עליה השלום כל דובר שיוצא מפי הקודש ברוך הוא ובטוב אפילו התנאי אינו חסד. This has nothing to do with us. I just want to point out this is an amazing statement. Is the reason that the Rebbeinu is not chayzer from the nevuah l'toiv because those are chukei and nevuah? Or no? The Rebbeinu could have decided to be chayzer, but since this novi, his neck is on the thing, and it was told in the Torah, this is the way we decide when he's Novi Emes, Novi Sheker. Therefore, God, does what the Novi said. Lefish Hashem im iftiach teva la'am al yidei Novi hu mekaymo behechlet. Why? Kedei shetis'ames nevuasei etzel bnei adam. Not because the Tov is not chayzer, but kedei shetis'ames nevuasei, which is an amazing statement. Okay. Now, go on, Neda. Let's start the next mitzvah. Va mitzvah shleishim. Ish is helmu mileches b'dalkei or b'ikvais hakefrim And here, it's very clear that that's the proper translation, because that's in the Arabic. Not kofrim, but the Arabic word for kofrim. Umisnaeg minigoyseim, v'filu malbusheim, v'kibutzeim amoishavim. V'omer yis'aleh lo seilchu b'chukis hagoy asher ani mishalech mipneichem, v'anichbol azho zu v'omer u'b'chukiseichem lo yiselechu. I chose over here to akifum, even though Ibn Tibman translates as akum, we have no clue if it might have been censored or not censored, and that's the Arabic. So I thought we should follow it. Kofrim over here means Uvdei Avodah Zarah. And that's in Mina Kotzer. Lelechet בחוקות עובדי עבודה זרה, ולא מנהגויסם, in part their mitzvos also. ללכת בריס לעובדי זרה. ידומס במנהגויסם במלבוש. That's going back to the Avodah Zarah. Now, who are these mysterious kofrim? The Ram doesn't limit it to anyone. It's any guy. Or, and in Mishnah Torah, in Perikid Aleph, Halach Aleph, in Hochem B'chukas Hagoy, Elo Yia Yisrael Muvdul Mehen Yodu Mabushay B'Shar Ma'asav K'moi Shehu Muvdul Behen Mehen B'Mado Over B'Dei Oisav V'chein Oim L'Avdel Eschem Mino Amim. So if it's Avdel Eschem Mino Amim, it's any guy. And in the Sefer Chinuch also, Shlachas b'chukas ha'moiri, v'chein b'chukas hagoyim, shenem lo seichel b'chukas hagoy, asher ani mishalech mipneichem, v'hu adin l'chol sha'ar hagoyim, do'ini b'nei shehem sorim me'achrei Hashem, d'Ivdei Avodah Zarah. So it's very clear in Chinuch. The interesting thing here, which I want to point out to you, is the Re'im says, this law is only Zayin Umas. The Re'im in Siman Shin Yud Gimel in on Fus Yoshen Peches Lo Yisasu K'Maaseim Chuseim Lo Yiselechu B'Reis Melokecho Lo Yiselech B'Chukas Hagoyim Lo Yisasu K'Maaseim Shel Shivo Umas Tichsiv Parshas Ve'ele Mishpotim Ve'evicho El Amori Uksiv Basrei Lo Yisasik Ma'aseim Uksiv Parsh Achri Mois K'mais Eretz Yisrael Asher Yishavtem Bo Lo Yisasik K'mais Eretz Kenan Asher Ani Mevi Eschem Shomo Lo Yisasik Lo Yislechu. So it's a very limited venue of Zayin Amin Eretz Mitzrayim, but it's not Kol Hagoyim. Mitzvah Hashem, I guess next week we'll try to, this is a rough mitzvah, maybe we can even hit the next one of Kesem, which is also very rough, and should have a Chag Sameach. That's locha.